Welcome back, everybody. I'm not sure if today is a different day for you, if it's the afternoon of the morning we just met, I don't know, but I'm glad you're here. Because if you're watching this video, it means you want to get better, and that's cool. I do too. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so does one person sharpen another. And that's a cool way to think about life. Together, we're better. Welcome back. I want to go back through what we talked about in our first lesson together and just get some playing in and relax. We'll review the rudiments that we studied yesterday or in the previous video, and then we're going to add some new ones. Because when you see Chris again, he's going to take you through a piece that he wrote just for you. Let's get back to it. Have you figured out why it is you want to play? Sorry, let me ask that again. Have you figured out why it is that you want to play? I want to play so that people might know more about Jesus because of the music that I choose to play. And that's a cool thing. That means every time I pick up an instrument, whether it's drums or at my own church, a tuba, people will hear words or hear songs that point us towards Jesus. And that's a good way to live your life. Are you ready to play? Are you relaxed? You stressed out? You tired? What have you done today? Do you need to stretch a little bit? Maybe get some of that good energy going through the body? We talked about the idea of just sitting down and playing on your lap. For me, I always use the metronome because it's a good way to keep a predictable tempo. It helps me stay in time. And then it's also good sometimes to think about songs that you like. I don't know what your favorite song is, but I know a little bit about a group called Transmission here in Atlanta. And they do a song that's called Live Right. And the chorus is based on an old Salvation Army song that just says, I want to live right, that God may use me at any time or anywhere. Now I've adjusted the rhythm of that song to fit the tempo, but it allows me to do this. I want to live right, that God may use me at any time or anywhere. I want to live right, that God may use me at any time or anywhere. Big solo. There's no rules. You just play, just relax, and get all the energy, the negative energy out of your body and replace it with some positive energy. And then when you make music, you'll be a lot more comfortable. Take a minute to just do that. Ask yourself why it is you want to play, and then maybe loosen up by just banging on your lap or something. Don't worry about the sticks yet. Did you do it? Are you relaxed? All right. You know why you want to play. You've relaxed a little bit. Let's pick up our sticks and just talk about the things that we've done all week. You got the right drum height? Are you using a drum pad or a practice pad? Are you ready to consider how you're holding the sticks? Focusing on that fulcrum, using our wrists, not our arms. These are all things we've talked about earlier. Just play. I'm going to start the metronome again. And now when I play, I'm going to start thinking more about how I can use the rudiments that we talked about. In our first lesson together, you and I, we talked about the single stroke rudiments. This is the foundation of our roll. And it's just alternating or sticking. So at this tempo, which equals 72 beats per minute, every quarter note's happening at 72 beats per minute. And in a sense, what I want to do is think about just alternating my sticking, making those 16th notes. And Chris reminded us 16th notes sound like this. 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda, 4 E enda. I'm going to think that way as I alternate my sticks, relax, and use my wrists, like this. 2, 3, 4. 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda, 4 E enda. Relax. I'm going to think about making it fun so it doesn't get boring and putting accents in random places. Watch this. Think of it. 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda, 4 E enda, 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3, 4. Here's an accent on every beat. 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda, 4 E enda, 1. Now I'm going to add the accent on the end of every beat. So 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda. Sorry, so the second 16th note. So the 1 E enda, 2 E enda. It sounds like this. Just a way to keep it from getting boring. If music or practice ever gets boring, you'll probably stop after a while. So make it fun. Do whatever you can to stay engaged. Put the accent now on the and. So 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda, 4 E enda, like this. 3, 4. 1 E enda, 2 and 3 and. It almost starts to sound like a train, doesn't it? I guess it would be different accents. But it's fun. You just have to make it fun so that you stay engaged. Don't lose your way. And once you start to play it rhythmically accurately, don't forget to speed up a little bit. I'm going to go to 80 beats per minute now. Let me let you hear what it should sound like with your 16th notes. 3 E enda, 4 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda, 4 E enda. Whatever you can do to keep that nice and even. 1 E enda, 2 E enda, 3 E enda, 4 E enda. You should be playing. Play with me. 3, 4. 3, 4. 1. Change the accent. No accent. That's fun too. Take a second to pause the video and try an exercise like that. Change the accent up, put it wherever you want, but keep it rhythmically accurate. Alternate your sticks, and you'll have more fun, I promise. If you're ready to move on, which means you've paused the video and practiced, let's go to the next thing that we learned, which was the single stroke 4. I'm going to turn my metronome back to 72 beats per minute. That's just sort of a moderate tempo to use. I'm going to remind you that this always starts on the same hand when you're practicing it. You don't necessarily alternate this particular rudiment. So it'd be triplet 1, triplet 2, triplet 3, triplet 4, just like that, but always start on the same hand. So, and you can see I'm almost kind of warming up. I'm getting my one hand higher, whatever hand I start with. One, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm putting an accent, a definitive accent on the downbeat. There's nothing written here that says to do that, but for me, it helps me remember where it starts. You should try to play it without the accent once you've mastered the rudiment. And it would sound like this if you did it. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Then I'm going to stop and change my starting hand to the left version of this rudiment. It sounds like this. 2, 3, 4. Once I get it even, and I know that that's how it should sound rhythmically, I'm going to remove the accent and play it just the way it's written, like this. 2, 3, 4. Try different volumes too. That's always a good way to keep it from getting boring, right? So here's soft, loud, soft, loud. You try. You try that at your tempo, get it nice and even, keep it from getting boring, change your volumes, do anything you can to stay engaged. Did you do it? Are you back? I know it's the same joke, but I want to make sure you did it. It's important. The last rudiment we talked about yesterday, or in our first lesson together, was the flam. And this is a fun one because you get to say the word flam, 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 flam. It's kind of, it's easy, should be nice and easy. The trick to the flam is the setup. Make sure you keep the second stick higher than the first stick, and you're going to alternate to make sure that you're getting the sound of the flam. Now the reason they do this is not so you look like a robot, but so that you learn better stick control. This type of muscle memory will help you as you learn to play other instruments in the percussion family, from drum set to marimba, xylophone, vibraphone, insert instrument name here. All of these fundamentals or rudiments will help you with that. I'm going to start my metronome. This time I'm going to keep it at 80 beats per minute. And the flam for me is just going to be quarter notes, alternating my sticking each time, keeping it high. Play with me and try your best to do those things. 2, 3, 4. Do you hear the word? Flam, flam, flam. I'm going to try eighth notes now, just to see if I can do it. That's a little harder for sure, but it's definitely something you want to try to work towards. So that would be the same as me getting it rhythmically right, stopping what I'm doing, turning the metronome up. I'll go to 90 beats per minute now. I'll let you hear the subdivision of the eighth note, but I'll just play quarter notes. See if you can play it at that tempo. Just the quarter notes. Flam, 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 flam. Once you think you've got it, you could try the eighth notes. It got a little bit away from me there. I don't know if you heard it. So now what that means is I need to back up, go to a slower tempo. We were at 90. I'm going to go to 84. And just try that slight bit slower and see if I can work back up. 2, 3, 4. You should be playing. Try it. Now eighth notes. Yeah, that was much easier. Now, it doesn't mean just because I played it right for 2 bars, I'm ready to go to the fastest tempo ever. We're going to talk about an exercise later called speed kills. And what I want you to know is this. If you can't play something slow, you'll never be able to play it fast. You'll never be able to play it fast right, anyway. So it's important that you do really try to practice these things and build up your speed. always measuring for yourself. You are your harshest judge. Are you playing it right? And if you're not sure, ask someone that knows. In this case, we're doing these videos for the Salvation Army. If you're near a Salvation Army music leader, a divisional music director or whatever, ask the question and see if they can help you identify if you're playing something right or what you can do to play it better. Those are the 3 rudiments that we talked about in our first lesson. Dun, dun, dun. That means we get to move on. And now comes the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of the percussionist's role. It's called the double stroke or open roll. And this is important because everything you will learn about alternating comes into play, but there's one little twist to the plot. We have to learn to bounce our sticks. And this is a hard thing for people to learn, but it's important that you do it. The way I was taught, using one hand at a time for now, is to hold my stick high, bring the stick down, and let it hit the drum, or in my case, practice pad, twice, like this. I'm hoping the camera's getting in there, but I'm not hitting the drum twice. I'm letting the stick hit the drum twice so that it moves inside the fulcrum of my hand, right? For every stroke, the stick makes contact twice. Try that on your own until you can do it nice and evenly. I like this simple tempo, 72. Think quarter notes and try to make the stick bounce for every quarter note, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's just my right hand. Now I'm going to just do my left hand. Now I'm right-handed, so my left hand is definitely my weaker hand. And if I'm ever going to have to work harder on something, it will be my weak hand. And you might have the same issue. Ideally, though, as we train together, you'll get both hands equally adept at these things. Here's the left hand. Try it first without the metronome. I'm controlling the stick in the fulcrum between my finger and thumb. For every stroke, there are 2 beats happening. Once I feel like I can do it evenly and accurately, I'll start my metronome and then just do my left hand, one hand or the other, until I can get it even. 3, 4. Whoop, that was 3. Now, I got 2 good bars in. Take a second to try that with your weak hand. When you come back to the video, we're going to try both hands, but it's your turn to pause. You ready to move on? Here's how we do that. Now we're going to alternate the bounce, the double stroke, like this. Right, left, right, left. Now it should be easy if you practice the way I showed you, because now you're playing actually twice as slow as what we originally did. Because instead of doing it on all 4 beats, you're just doing it 1 and 3. Because your other hand is doing 2 and 4 like this. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we were to alternate and think of it as 8 notes, now what will happen is all 4 beats in one hand, the alternate beats in the other hand. When you put it together, it will sound like this. 2, 3, 4. Take a second and try to do that on your own. This is your time to shine, so make sure you pause the video and work up to a tempo that you can do that evenly. When you come back, we'll show you what it can sound like as you get faster. I have to assume you paused the video and you're ready to move on. We're still working on the double stroke roll, but here's the trick. If you've learned to master this so that you're playing quarter notes and 8th notes in the opposite hand like this, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and watch this. Let's pretend that you've worked up your tempo. I'm now going 10 beats per minute faster. It's still not too very fast, because if I'm just doing the quarter note, it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Other hand. 1, 2. Put it together as if you're doing 8 notes, and it should sound like this. Mind you, my hands are still synced doing quarter notes, but we're just starting the weak hand after the strong hand. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay, take a second, try to do those doubles a little faster, alternating, keeping it even, and when you're ready to come back, we'll do it even faster. If you're here, it means you came back. That's a good thing. When you left, we were at 82. Now we're going to move it to 92. Now this means you've done some real homework. You're really working hard. And hopefully you haven't gotten too bored yet. At least you're still here. One hand, quarter notes, bounces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just do it until it's perfect. I'm really just using my wrist and that fulcrum. Now I'm going to switch hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to try it together now. Thinking 8 notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Try it with me. If it's too fast, stop. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, I'm making a real concerted effort to keep those sticks moving high. I'm not using my arms, just using my wrists. You may notice it sounds like one bounce is stronger than another. And this is part of the thing that we will have to do to break down this weak hand mentality. When you're playing, always be conscious that you're really working on both hands to play evenly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Think monotone, same volume, don't change it. This is the foundation of the drum roll, which for us is really all about that bounce. And what's cool is, if you watch something just to hear it, when we play in a concert setting, most of the music that we'll play, particularly in the Salvation Army, is a buzz roll or a press roll, which is actually the same thing I'm teaching you. It's just keeping that bounce much closer to the head of the drum. Now I've turned the snare drum on and I've taken away the pad to make sure that you can hear this. I'm hoping this isn't too loud for your speakers, but in a sense, if you really listen, all I'm doing is that bounce. I'm making it a little faster. And if you really focus on my wrists, you'll notice that they're not moving too fast. I'm just bringing the sticks closer to the head so the bounce isn't as high. That is the foundation of the roll. Now, it's up to you to really develop. Remember, I told you, you're your own worst critic. You're the only person that's going to know if you're really putting in the work. Part of the learning to play a roll is learning to measure the roll. And in this case, the Percussive Arts Society, in their document, which we've made available to you through the booklet, has this exercise 7 or rudiment number 7. It's the 5-stroke roll. And all it is it starts with the right hand and ends with an accent in the right hand. And it sounds like this: 2, 4, 5. So a bounce counts as 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why they call it a 5-stroke roll. So that's open, that's slow. I'll go back to our great practicing metronome tempo at 72. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, left, right, right, left. Now, neither one of those were good. So I'm going to stop and slow down and make sure I did that right. I'm gradually speeding up. I don't need the metronome to do this. I'm just making sure, because I'm my own worst critic, that I'm playing it right. Now I'll go back to the metronome. I'm thinking this 8th note sound is what I'm aiming for. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is very fast for a 5-stroke roll, believe it or not. So it might sound like this if you just think of it as 8 notes in 4/4 time. 1 and. If we slow it down and say 62 beats per minute, just a little bit easier to understand. 2, 4, 5. Take a minute and try that on your own. You should be able to count the strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just based on that bounce, and get that accent in there. That'll make it even more fun. Do whatever you need to do to make it great. All right, you're back. Perfect. We've done the double stroke roll. Now we are on to my single favorite rudiment in all of the drummers or percussionist language, the paradiddle. The single paradiddle is something that's really fun. If you can say this word, paradiddle, then you can play it. That's how that works. Whatever hand you start on begins the para, right, left, and then you do 2 strokes in the same hand you started. So it's going right, left, right, right, or paradiddle. Then you alternate. Left, right, left, left, or paradiddle. Do that nice and slow. This is 72, which can be pretty fast for the beginning of the paradiddle. Let's start at 62. 2, 3, 4. Paradiddle, paradiddle. Left, right, left, left, right. Play along. Now, if you're an overachiever, you'll notice that these are actually 16th notes. Now, going all the way back to when Chris was talking about subdivisions in his lessons, 16th notes for us sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So the paradiddle at the 16th note version and this tempo sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 E and a, paradiddle, paradiddle. It's important that you understand the paradiddle is really a great way to learn how to do the train sound. Chugga, 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 chugga. And I know that seems funny to say on camera, and I'll never be able to take this back, but the train sound is like that. The great thing about a paradiddle is, as you learn to play, particularly if you're interested in praise and worship or drum set music, learning the paradiddle and the muscle memory that's associated with double strokes in your hand, well, that helps with our roll, which we've already established, and it also helps when you're moving around any instrument, the drum set, a set of bells, the marimba, xylophone, vibraphone, you name it. You'll learn to place your hands in the best spot possible to achieve a difficult rhythm. By and large, we try to encourage people to alternate their stickings all the time. It is incredibly necessary for you to learn that discipline. The paradiddle will help you with that. Take a minute, use a slow tempo, practice the paradiddle. Welcome back. I don't know if we've given you enough time or if you've taken enough time to practice the paradiddle, but if you'll notice, exercise 16 in the Percussive Arts Society rudiments, it's the paradiddle, and right below it is the double paradiddle. I like the double paradiddle because it's pretty easy once you've learned the paradiddle, paradiddle. Now you just do the para twice. Para, paradiddle, para, paradiddle. The diddle is always done in the same hand. So para, paradiddle, para, paradiddle, para, paradiddle, para, paradiddle. It's not included in the exercise that you're going to learn tomorrow, but it's definitely a fun one to do, and they're back to back on the document that you have. So check it out. We're going to move on to the rough only when you're ready. And I'm assuming if the video is rolling that you've determined that you're ready to move on. And here's the last thing that we're going to talk about from a rudiment point of view. This is called the drag. We used to call it a rough when I went back because it sounds like a rough, like I'm speaking a language other than English when I say rough, rough. like I don't know how to explain it other than it's what we used to call it. They now call it a drag in the Percussive Arts Society, and so that's one of our rudiments. It's actually number 31 on your page. I've printed it out here as large as I can get for the camera, but ideally it's a lot like the flam. You have two grace notes that are tied to a quarter note. In this case, the grace notes actually look like baby 16th notes, and they're meant to be played prior to a note, but they're not necessarily given a value in a bar. And that's a discussion for another day. But ideally, a rough or a drag sounds like this. It's two of the same stick, left, left, right, and then you alternate, right, right, left. Now go back to the idea of our bounce rudiments, the bounce stroke, the double stroke, and that's what we're really applying here. Whoop. Try to get that first stick high, the stick that's going to come down as your accent high. Slow, slow, slow. When you hear me hitting my own sticks, that means I'm being lazy. I want to practice that inverted V that Chris talked about on day 1 or 2, and really just make sure that I'm getting nice stick heights on these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try it at that tempo, nice and slow, 62 beats per minute. Then when you're ready, speed it up till you can get back to our normal kind of moderate tempo of 72. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I'm right, I think the reason they call this the drag is because in a sense you're dragging that first hand, the lazy hand. But I don't want you to be lazy about it. So take some time at a nice moderate tempo to practice the drag, and then when you're ready, come back and we'll close out our time. Okay, I assume that because you're watching this video, you have mastered all of those rudiments, you're ready to move on or at least be challenged. The last thing that I have for you today is a document called Speed Kills. Ooh. It's included in your packet. I can't make it too big for you, but what I will tell you is we really believe that as players, people who have kind of dedicated themselves to playing in our churches for our life hobby, it's important to know that if you can't play something slow, you'll not be able to play something accurately fast. So there's a lot of people that can play fast and it's sloppy. I would love for you as a percussionist to be able to play fast and rhythmically perfectly, because that's really your job as a rhythm instrument. Now, on the document, it looks a little small, but you might be able to read this, right? Here's the checklist. Are you playing consistently and evenly? Are you alternating your sticking? You're the only person that knows if you're doing it right, unless you're working with a teacher who can see you and hear you. Now try to increase the tempo of this exercise, which just keeps repeating, okay? What I'd like you to do is set your tempo. For me, I think a good moderate tempo of 64 will work. I'm going to listen to the subdivisions of the triplets, which we haven't spent a lot of time on. Triplet, triplet. Because when I play this exercise, it's going to go by very fast. But if you were to break it down a bar at a time, bar 1 for us is just quarter notes. You can do those. Right, left, right, left. Piece of cake. That one you can do in your sleep. Bar 2 for us, 8th notes. Also easy, particularly at this tempo. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you do it. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Got it. No problem. Now in between the 8th note and the 16th note bars, we have bar 3, which is triplets.